Hello, Froggy here, and today we'll be taking a look at Outside the Box in Trenchway, using the Sunless Cell strike. I have my light set low here so that we will not matchmake with people, which you can generally use if no one else is doing the same thing. But I do have a secondary goal here, and that's to see what we'll be able to get to after this season ends, assuming that the Dreadnaught is not a permanent place that we go to otherwise. But it does exist inside of this strike. And additionally, we get a little bonus in that once we leave the strike areas, we get access to sparrows. So that's pretty nice. We could go directly into Hall of Souls, but I want to see if we can go via Hull Breach, just because I don't think I've actually shown how to work in the Hull Breach area yet. So, Hull Breach from Mausoleum is pretty easy because of the way that the default works and the fallback points. You just have to die without setting a spawn point and you'll go right inside. Just give me a couple seconds here, and there we go. I'm going to be freely using Navigator and Sparrow flying here, since those are two things you really want in your pocket if you're going to be doing out-of-box shenanigans. There is a handy way to get out of Hull Breach, although it is a little bit annoying because there are some invisible walls you have to go around. So I'm going to go ahead and climb up here. And if we go to the left and around a thing that you cannot see, we're out of map in Hull Breach. Although it doesn't really look it yet. If you drop down here, you'll find some intangible ground and a little bit of platform that you can stand on. But from here you can fly over to the other side where there is a nice little exit pathway and a hard connection point. Below you can see the ascended connection area between zones, and we could go there with Syncbox. We'll be doing a Syncbox later for Trenchway anyways, but for this one, there was some stuff in Trenchway that I really wanted to take a look at. The load that we're heading to here will just take us back to Hall of Souls, so really we could have done this from the beginning, but you know, I just wanted to take a little detour. I'm just taking advantage of dying to regen a little bit of sword ammo. For that, you want to put your max ammo low while you're alive, and then after you die, set it to high, and you'll slowly gain ammo. You can get up over here if your buddy doesn't knock you down. I wanted more ammo anyways. Anyways, if you go into that side and you don't get caught by the push barrier too much, you can just kind of bounce on up and land on the ground here. You have to hug the hallway to get past the push barrier, but then you're pretty much free to go around the backside of this load. If you manage to hit it without dying, your life will be a lot easier, but I did not here, so I'll show you how to go the hard way. Naturally, if you survive to that load, you can just turn around and go through the barrier before it spawns in. The load is right around where I left that sparrow. In order to do this barrier race, you need to not have any buddies holding that zone loaded in. I'm going to go ahead and set a spawn point here. And Superboxer is going to just kind of move out of the way for the moment. You could have two people do this at the same time if you time it well. So I am about out of the preload now, and I'm going to die against this wall and spawn near the load zone. And then I rush over here, and nope, the door is already there that time. So I'm just going to go ahead and try that again. Once again, we have to load back into Hull Breach. And now that we need to set our spawn point that we'll use to get close to the door when it spawns in. This technique is generally applicable for any time there is a barrier close to a load zone that you want to go through, so it's a good thing to have in your back pocket. See if I can do this a little bit faster. And there we go, made it through. Of course, Hall of Souls is not our final destination here. There are a number of ways to get out of the map. I'm going to use a different one that I had not previously really known about. Turns out there is a nice spot on this side that you can just kind of crouch through a little hole. It can be a little bit tricky to stand on, and you might need to swing to fall down, but it is fairly handy. And I'm going to go ahead and go on up and head towards the Trenchway side. See to the right, that's where we came from.
Guardian down.
It's worth noting that people are not going to be able to race that barrier if you remain in Hall of Souls. But as soon as you hit Trenchway, people can join. I am specifically hitting Trenchway out of map here because you want to be out of map to set up a sync box in a nice way. The kind of slanted walls of the Dreadnaught make sync boxing not out of the map a bit of a problem. But there is a pretty nice spot back behind. You can see the exotic mission area in front of me. And that is still reachable, so you'll be able to do that from the strike regardless. Although I suppose we will almost certainly be keeping the exotic mission. So this area back here is pretty convenient for Syncbox. Of course, to do that, we need to have Superboxer here as well. It is kind of dark, so it does make it a little bit frustrating, but between ghost lighting, barricades, and lighting on your armor, it is not too bad to work with. I'll briefly go over how you do a sync box here, although you may want to refer to my more in-depth guide for it. I like to bind scroll wheel to forwards to help push the sinking person off. Helps that Superboxer is wearing some light-up armor. Much easier to push. Anyways, I am very slowly pushing him off until he falls on my screen, but not on his. And that will establish the desync. Naturally, if Boxer falls off, he'll just jump right back up. And you should see a kind of weird sliding off like that. And that'll do it. So now I'm going to position my Sparrow so that it is balanced off the edge. And stand hanging over the ledge next to it. You have to have line of sight to where the sparrow falls, which is why I'm so far over. Let me just jump over to what the desinker sees real quick. They need explosive payload or something to knock the sparrow off with. Go ahead and look up, and after about 5 seconds or so, look down and zoom in. At the same time, the rider should hold ride, and if all goes well, they'll teleport with the sparrow. Although I would not recommend flying to the right here, as there is this Thunderdome copy that will pull you into the box and kill you. Anyways, let's give that another go. I'm going to go ahead and ride for the sync box. And not head towards that glowing orb of doom. So, once you're out here, the first thing you're going to want to do is find a safe place to set a spawn. That way you'll be free to mess around as you please. I'm making my way up towards a small little piece of land that you could see briefly in the top right for a moment there. And once we land on it, we'll be safe to do whatever, as long as we don't hit a load zone or go into a box barrier and set a spawn point. It's fine if you get pulled into a box, just if you have spawn points, you'll have to get rid of them to get back outside. And here we are. I'm gonna go ahead and re-up my frame rate for my own sanity. You can see that I have a nav point pointing at a weird portal in the middle of nowhere. It turns out that all of the Nether portals are always active in every zone, so that's kind of weird. Let's go take a peek at them. So, one thing you'll want to note about portals that you find out of box. Generally, they're going to lead back into the box. So I don't expect that this will end well. But while we're here, I'm curious if this portal will let sparrows pass through it. Portals in Destiny 2 can be a little bit finicky about that sort of thing. I think I got it there, but let's try again. I never claimed to be a very good sparrow flyer. Alright, this definitely should work. And nope, seems like this one's pretty finicky, just like the similar looking ones in the Dreaming City. In fact, recently I don't think I've been able to get those to work at all. And add insult to injury, not only does it take you back into the box, but it hits a load zone, so now I've got to do the sync over again. Alas. But with the magic of editing, we're right back here. I'm just going to go and head over to this delightful mass of tentacles. As you may have guessed, this is the area from the intro mission, and it exists under the map in Trenchway. Some of those chains at the end are solid, so we can actually use those to set a spawn point before dropping anywhere. Also, once you get to a certain distance below, you can get the lighting effects from the area. And it even loads in the Dreadnaught you see in the distance. Unsurprisingly, that is not the Dreadnaught that you go to, but you know, it is pretty neat to see the effect go in and out. You want to be careful not to get too low, or you risk going into the box. Come to think of it, I really should have set a spawn point over here closer first. travel distances while you're out of the box can be pretty extreme, so it's always nice to have a nearby spawn point. And apparently, that chain will not do. But I do know that some of these are solid. Now I know that not all of them are. Let's try our luck with this one. It looks pretty similar to the other, but it's much more solid. Let's go ahead and head down to the inner area. Just kind of like the worst Rainbow Road. It's kind of weird having the skybox without the usual effects. We're in some sort of in-between space here, and we don't have either set? Well, we should be... Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's the Ascendant stuff. I'm not sure which of these chains are solid or where that starts. I'm back in the box now. I don't want to set any spawn points so that I can very easily get back up top. Although if I did set spawn points, I guess I could just summon a Sparrow to get rid of them. We've got the EDZ section here. Naturally, there is no load zone to get to the EDZ. The intro mission is actually 2 missions back to back, which you can actually see if you orbit and launch them again midway through. Anyways, let's get back up to the top and enjoy the view. Dropping down the side, you get a pretty good view of the various layers of the ascendant parts of the Trenchway Nether. Can move a little bit back to get an even better view. Background tentacles are gone. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a death barrier that surrounds the outside of that, so don't know if we'll be able to get in, but we'll see. Might at least be able to get on some of these blights. Looks solid enough. They generally are. Let's see about going a little bit further in. Getting kind of close. Probably should touch down though, because I am sure the death barrier is coming. And there we go. So a little earlier I did manage to get closer without the death barrier, so there might actually be a way to... So there is a hole in the death barrier. Not sure how big the hole is, but looks like we can in fact get here. I'm not going to go through the portal because I'm pretty sure that we will immediately hit a load zone and then I'll have to sync box again, and I don't want to do that flight another time. I have... This has been 2 or 3 times already, but... Let's at least check out this area. Oh, can't go down there. And we're back on the blight. Oh wow, that must have been pretty tight if I hit the death barrier right there. Well, there's one more thing I want to check out before ending the video, and unfortunately it is all the way back up top, more or less. Earlier on, I accidentally got pulled into the Thunderdome box. So let's go see if we can do that on purpose and check it out. I'm going to set a spawn point first because I do not want to do that flight again. For context, it took me about 7 minutes. It does look like this one will be a lot easier to reach than the King's Fall one. Yeah, that one took a lot of work. But we should be able to just drop down on top of this one.
Guardian down.
And looks like it is solid, so I'm not sure how we'll get in. There is a sparrow trick we could maybe use, and I guess it is not solid sparrows. So that's kind of cool. Not too many of those around. But yeah, sparrows just don't see that wall at all. Always fun to have more of those.
Guardian down.
Yeah, it just never gets old. You just whoop straight through the wall. But yeah, there's one of those in Halphus Electus that I'm aware of. I'm not sure where there are others in the game currently, but I remember way back in the day, Atlas Grove had one. But yeah, pretty nice to be able to have sparrows in basically every location here, and I'm happy exploring.